All right, good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. This is a regular board meeting of the San Benito CISD Board of Trustees. I call this meeting to order. The time is 5:35. Welcome, everybody. We begin the meeting with roll call. Ms. Janie Lopez,
Present.
Mr. Oscar Medrano,
Present.
Mr. Rudy Corona, Dr. Ariel Cruz,
Present.
Mr. Orlando Lopez, Mr. Mario Silva,
Present.
Ms. Teresa Cervellon,
Present.
Mr. Stephen Weller,
Present.
and Ramiro Moreno is here, so we do have a quorum. We move on to item 1.2 and 1.3, Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and Texas flags, and our invocation. Mr. Medrano.
Leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance is Mia Renee Aguilar from Dr. Raul Garza Junior STEAM Academy. Mia Renee Aguilar is a 10 years old and in 5th grade student at Dr. Raul Garza Junior STEAM Academy. She is the daughter of Sandy and Oscar Aguilar and has a brother named Jordan. Mia is an honor roll student and has earned a master's level of both her reading and math STAR exams in 4th grade. Mia is a member of the student council and participates in the after-school program. Her hobbies include dance, cheer, singing, and reading. She also participates in competitive cheer as a member of the Cheer Coast Tropics in Harlingen. Her goal is for this year to earn all A's and to earn masters in all her STAR exams. After graduating, Mia plans to pursue a career as a radiologist.
Awesome.
Leading us in the invocation, also from Dr. Raul Garza Junior STEAM Academy, is Gabriel Dominguez Jr. Gabriel Dominguez Jr. is 10 years old and a 5th grade student at Dr. Raul Garza Junior STEAM Academy. He is the son of Gabriel Dominguez and Rosa Hernandez. Gabriel is an honor roll student who mastered reading and math in 4th grade. He also participates in the GT program. Gabriel is a member of the chess team. His favorite hobby is playing chess and challenging himself to be a better player. His favorite subject is science. Gabriel enjoys experimenting, making observations on the world. Gabriel aspires to attend Harvard University and become an engineer. He plans to travel the world in the future and bring his family with him. Gabriel would like to thank the school board members, the superintendent, and his campus principal for the opportunity to serve the Lord while leading the invocation at this school board meeting. Will everyone please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Will everyone please bow their heads? Dear Lord, we thank you for the many blessings you have given us. You have given us the gift of life and our health and well-being. At this time, dear Lord, we ask you bless our board members and Mrs. Cervellon abundantly and give them wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with them in deliberations and help them make wise decisions for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in their leadership. We ask that you help them share their individual and collective gifts with our schools and community, and to give themselves so we make a difference in our families, in our students, in our schools, in our city. For all this we give thanks. Father, in your name we pray. Amen.
Students, we have a certificate for you, and we want to take a picture with you guys. Will the parents and principals please stand up and be recognized at this time? Yeah.
And for the record, I think he said he's taking me on the trip. Thank you all. All right, next on our agenda, we move on to item 2.1, public comment. Before we begin, I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling public comment. The public comment portion of our meeting is available to members of the public who wish to address any topic. Anyone who would like to speak during public comment must sign in prior to the start of the meeting and list the topics they want to discuss. Each public comment speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board for each topic. If more than 10 speakers are signed up to speak on the same topic, all additional speakers on that item shall be limited to 2 minutes. However, any public testimony speaker who requires a translator will receive up to 6 minutes to address the board. Please keep your comments or criticisms civil and courteous. Please avoid using profanity and refrain from making personal attacks on others during your opportunity to speak. Lastly, we ask that you do not discuss students who are not your own children. If a speaker is seeking board resolution of a specific complaint, that concern should be addressed through the district's grievance process. District policy DGBA has been established for addressing employee complaints. Policy FNG is the avenue for filing parent complaints. And policy GF addresses community member complaints. Grievance forms may be obtained at any campus administration office or at the district's central office administration. Our first speaker is Ms. Mary Maney. Ms. Maney, welcome.
Good evening, Board. Mr. Marino, Superintendent Zevion. I wanted tonight, I had a couple things on here. One is on 8.2, which is dealing with the Grand Canyon University. Please, this sounds like a really incredible opportunity, not just for our students, our graduates, but also for our teachers and staff that may be interested in pursuing further degrees. The discount they're offering is actually a pretty good idea. I hadn't heard of it before this year, so it's like I'm kind of excited about this. Also on 6.4, 6.5, and 6.6, I don't know if the community is really aware of just how lucky we are with our CTE program, that we offer these practical experiences where they're actually working out in the field, getting hands-on experience and deciding whether or not it really is for them. So seeing these different agreements with different enterprises and different doctors is a really a good thing. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing more from my kids about how they're enjoying those experiences and how it's helping them decide which way they want to specialize in what they're doing. So a lot of the places around here do not offer the CTE type courses that we do, and we have such tremendous opportunities for our students that if we can make the community just a little bit more aware of it, I think we would also increase more of our enrollment in these areas. Because as I said, a lot of places you're not going to get that hands-on and you get that experience to decide this is what you want, or you know, this really isn't what I want. I'm not built to do this, you know, so it's a good thing. So again, kudos to our CTE department for going after these type of agreements so that we can offer more opportunities for our students. I did have two other things. One is thank you for the early release on Thursday. We really do appreciate it, especially since we got all these kids going for the trip. Also, the fact that high school is getting out before anybody else is also nice. It kind of blows my mind that the elementary school gets out first and the high school students get out last, you know, so that, you know, you got kids going home by themselves before anybody more older comes in. But question did arise out of that. I'm being told by my students that we're getting Friday off. I'm getting told by others that, no, it's going to be a teacher day. And I'm going, no, it's scheduled for a full day of school. You know, it's like, clarification would be very nice, because as I said, there's a lot of rumors going out there, and, you know, when I have a student that flat out tells me, no, there is no school, we have been guaranteed this, I'm going, okay. I don't know who you've been talking to, but I need to get your source. So, and then the other thing is, again, I know I bring it up every time, but we did kind of get used to having a stipend at Christmas time, and it really would be appreciated when Mr. Moreno made the comments at the last regular board meeting about the possibility of doing this. It really got some hopes up, and it still has some hopes up. So it's like, we're getting close to Christmas, haven't heard anything yet. And I said, okay, well, I'll mention it again and see what happens. You know, the general reminders. But overall, thank you guys so very much, because as I said, we're getting some opportunities here that if we can let other people know and actually show where we're going and what we're offering, we can only benefit San Benito. So as I said, again, thank you very much. And please, stipend.
Thank you, Ms. Maney. Our next speaker is Mr. Jesus Aguilera. Mr. Aguilera, welcome.
Okay. Congratulations on your victory. Okay, but now you got a lot of work ahead of you. You can start by giving the teachers Friday off. And I started the rumor, so it's okay. So anyway, good job. The other one is you have a hostile work environment at one of the schools. Keep an eye on that person. Too many calls are coming in, you know, and if I know you guys know. Okay, so, and don't forget, we're $10 million in the hole, and that without no parking lot and no landscaping. I didn't write that down. But anyway, thank you, and keep an eye on her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilera. Next, we have Mr. Adan Oseguera. Mr. Oseguera, welcome.
Good evening, Board Trustees, Board President, and Superintendent. Thank you for this time and opportunity to speak. My name is Adan Oseguera. I'm an SPCISD employee. I'm here on my own behalf. I wanted to start by giving my gratitude for Agenda Item 9.4 on consideration for a staff incentive. I've been asked several times since the beginning of the school year whether we are getting something in December, as I'm sure some of you have been asked recently as well. I've had to reply no, but always add that there could be a chance given that there are funds available and how this board and ones before have looked out for all staff members. I highly encourage the board to take action in favor of approving an incentive, and I kindly ask you all to not be shy, get in the holiday spirit, and be generous. My next topic is transportation. Many people have raised concerns about the danger of traffic congestion, especially around our country schools. We can keep trying to lobby TxDOT and hope they lower the speed limit or widen the roads, add lanes maybe. We did get a light by Bentry that's been very, very helpful. But I have a small suggestion that's within the district's control. I'm sure you've tried it before, but I'll say it again. A bus can hold 48 to 60 kids. That takes up a lot less traffic than if each of those students were to be picked up by their parents. Buses are one of the safest modes of transportation, and having more on the road artificially slows down the speed limit, further reducing the chance for accidents, especially fatal accidents. I think if there was really a concerted push to get more of our kids utilizing our buses and transportation, we'd solve a lot of the traffic problem. What that campaign looks like, I'm not sure. Maybe provide incentives or advertise the safety aspect, but something to consider. On item 8.2, Grand Canyon University, I love seeing us partner with universities, especially if they're offering students and staff discounts at no cost to the district. But the Department of Education considers Grand Canyon a for-profit institution, which means their first priority isn't education, but profit. For-profit schools are notorious for putting students in debt traps with extremely predatory loans, providing worthless certifications, and enrolling students in classes that they don't need. There are some interesting allegations in lawsuits filed against this university that I suggest being considered before the district engages in any agreement with this institution. I wanted to talk about item 6.1, Inicio Academies. I have a lot of questions and much to say on this topic, all in interest, of course, coming from a good place of making sure that all of our schools, students, and staff reach their potential. I'm gonna informally request a town hall or a public hearing like we had before when we were considering the STEAM Academy. I know we're on a tight schedule, but our wonderful CAO mentioned that these academies were made with the community in mind. So what better way to bolster that than with a town hall? It was a phenomenal presentation. It's really exciting, especially considering Fred Booth is my alma mater. Go Bobcats. It'd be great if the curriculum wasn't just focused on entrepreneurship. Leadership takes many forms. Think of our civil servants, activists, diplomats, elected representatives. There are a lot of exciting instructional possibilities when you expand that definition of leadership. In my opinion, the greatest strength that public schools have is the diversity of the students they serve. Again, the greatest strength that public schools have is the diversity of the students they serve. It's been shown that when you have students of different backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses, and academic achievement doing meaningful work together, like project-based learning, they learn from each other and are better for it. I'm glad we have a matrix, very transparent, but to me, it seems like the eligibility requirements for these academies follow the charter school and magnet school model of cherry-picking the best students and the best families, thereby greatly reducing the public school advantage that I mentioned and siphoning resources from our other schools. I think of the students that I grew up with at Fred Booth and those that I've had at Frank Roberts, Cash, BC, AGL, who do not lack the ability, but lack the resources and investment in their community, in their schools. These kids would thrive in this environment if given the opportunity and support. I'm not sure how useful this model is going to be for our other campuses as currently proposed, when it's just going to be serving the top percentile of students. Enrollment is going down for every school district because certain elected officials want to privatize education by subsidizing charter schools, causing the defunding of public schools. So yes, let's combat this with innovation and rigor, utilizing formative assessment and project-based learning, but let's lean into our strengths with something more inclusive and equitable on all of our campuses. So this is in our instructional playbook. I believe it's been presented to the board. It says kids first always. It doesn't say some kids. It doesn't say the top kids. It doesn't say GT kids. It doesn't say excluding kids who've received a referral. It says kids first always. So I hope we consider that. Thank you.
Right on time, Mr. Oseguera. Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 3.1, Board President's Remarks. Thanksgiving is a time of gratitude and reflection, a time to focus on the good in our lives and remain hopeful of what is yet to come. As we enter this Thanksgiving season, I would like to sincerely thank our community and send the warmest wishes for a happy and safe holiday celebration with your loved ones. On behalf of the San Benito CISD Board of Trustees and district leaders, it is also my privilege to express our appreciation for the continued unwavering dedication of our school administrators, teachers, staff, and parents. We at San Benito CISD will continue to provide a premier education for all students through a positive and safe learning environment, as well as continue to be the gold standard in all areas of public education. Have a happy Thanksgiving. El Día de Acción de Gracias es un tiempo de gratitud y reflexión, un día para enfocarnos en lo bueno de nuestras vidas y mantener la esperanza de lo que está por venir. Al entrar en esta temporada de Acción de Gracias, me gustaría agradecer sinceramente a nuestra comunidad y enviar los más buenos deseos para una celebración festiva, feliz y segura con sus seres queridos. De parte de la mesa directiva del Distrito Escolar de San Benito, también tengo el privilegio de expresar nuestro agradecimiento por la dedicación continua y inquebrantable de nuestros administradores escolares, maestros, personal y padres. Nosotros en el Distrito Escolar continuaremos brindando una educación del más alto nivel para todos los estudiantes, mientras proveyéndoles un ambiente de aprendizaje positivo y seguro, y continuaremos siendo el estándar de oro en todas las áreas de la educación pública. Que tengan un feliz día de Acción de Gracias. Thank you. Next up, we have item 4.1 on the agenda, Superintendent's Remarks.
Good evening, everybody in the audience, President Moreno, Board of Trustees. Tonight, we come into this board meeting extremely proud of our San Benito Greyhound football team. So with that being said, we got the short straw and drew Thursday. And we did roll out information, actually on Facebook, to parents, different media outlets, that was very specific about Thursday being an early release, but Friday we come back to school. So as of now, that is the information that has been rolled out, and that is what we're going to adhere to. Friday will be a regular school day, but on Thursday, central office, everybody in the district, central office will be closed at 2:30. So the district will be closed down so that we can go and support and follow our mighty Greyhound team. So moving along, to ensure our community receives the most accurate SBCISD news, the district is transitioning to an online publication. Our ACTS page, which stands for Accountability, Community, Transparency, and Systems, is currently under construction. Our aim is to fully roll out this webpage by January 2023. Currently, ACTS is being disseminated via email to all SBCISD employees and our school board members. A link is shared that contains information regarding our school community. Thus far, we have distributed information regarding our school board financial workshop that targeted recommendations made through our forensic audit, and our proposed expansion of school choice through the Inicio Academies to include the Global Leadership Academy for elementary students and the Collegiate Academy for middle school students. This week, the ACTS link will contain information regarding our safety and security measures. We will continue to keep you updated so that all stakeholders in our community have an opportunity to subscribe to our free online ACTS page. As San Benito CISD keeps moving forward, we pledge to increase educational choices for our children, as well as provide support systems that ensure all students reach their highest potential. And that includes the extremely underserved population of our gifted and talented students. We want to make sure that we stretch them and they don't go somewhere else to be stretched, and to receive that educational support that they need so when they enter a college, they can achieve the highest possible level. Working together, I know we can accomplish this and so much more. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Ms. Cervellon. Moving on to reports, item 5.1, correction on bid proposals for RFP 0922-PCS Pest Control Services district-wide. Ms. Cervellon?
Yes, sir. With that, I'm going to go ahead and ask Ms. Mata to come forward, as we had a correction.
Good evening, Mr. Moreno, board members, and Mrs. Servillon. On the previous RFP that we submitted, the calculation that was submitted was at an amount of $22,080. When we went back and we were doing the requisitions, the calculation was actually $27,840, so a $4,000 difference about. So it's just a correction. The bidder would have still won the bid. It's just the amount, so it can be on the record that it was $27,000 instead of $22,000.
Thank you, Ms. Mata. Moving on to item 5.2, presentation on fund balance.
So we also have Mrs. Mata that is going to walk us through our fund balance presentation. We want to make sure that we're clear about what is going on with our fund balance. We went ahead and did a historical, data retrieval so that we could walk you through those numbers and what they actually mean for the district.
Okay, so like Mrs. Servillon was mentioning, I did go back and did a historical on the different fund balances that make up our fund balance for the district. So we're gonna start with the child nutrition. In 17-18, our child nutrition fund balance was and I'm just gonna abbreviate the numbers just not to read them completely, $2.8 million. And that, I just started there as a basis. And then on 18-19, our fund balance increased by $651,000 to $3.5 million. Then in 19-20, it went down to 3.2 by $333,000. In 2021, the fund balance decreased again by $906,000 to $2.3 million. And the unaudited, the top years from 17-18 to 2021 are already audited, already approved by the board, submitted to TE and so forth. The unaudited is the one that just ended in June 30, 2022. That one will be presented hopefully next week. And then the projected, if you notice on 21-22, is an increase of $2.2 million for a fund balance in the child nutrition of $4.5 million. So we did go back and look at, how did we increase so much in the food service account? And the reason is that we got more revenue in catering. There was no COVID. We earned about $187,000 more. We did get less in school breakfast, about $602,000 less, but our lunch went up by 1.6. So it offset itself. Then the USDA commodities, we earned $172,000 more. In the fresh fruit and vegetables and the lunch program and the supper program, we earned about $730,000 more. So everything combined, and then we had less expenditures. I believe, if I remember correctly, in 2021, we were part of that food service management company, and so our expenditures went down. So all that combined led to the $2.3 million increase for the fund balance for the food service. Any questions on that one? Okay. For the Fund 599, which is our INS fund, this is where we pay our bond payments. If you notice in 17-18, we started with a fund balance of $888,079. In 18-19, we decreased by $133,697 for a fund balance of $714,382. If you notice in bold, it says that we transferred in from the general fund $354,192. So had we not transferred that money, we decreased more in fund balance. Then in 1920, our fund balance for the INS fund decreased by $1 million, and we went into a negative fund balance of $295,382, and we transferred in $1,097,000 from general fund into the INS fund balance. For the 2021 fund balance, again, we decreased by $503 overall, for a decrease of a negative of 798,826. In here, we transferred 1,327,754. For the unaudited, which is the coming up one, is a projected fund balance will stay the same at a negative 798,826. And the reason being that we moved in money in here as well. And I forgot to put the amount in there, but I believe it's a million something as well, like 1,054,000, give or take, for the 21-22 fiscal. I can get you the correct amount later if you want, or during the presentation for the audit, I can tell the auditor to mention it. But one thing to mention on this one, back in September, we did the IFA amendment to TEA. And so hopefully, I've been in communication with both TEA and Amanda from TASBO, and according to Amanda's projections, we should be getting 2.2 million with that IFA amendment from TEA. So hopefully, it'll offset, and for the 22-23 fiscal year, we won't have to transfer any general fund revenues into the fund balance for the INS. So hopefully, I did reach out to them, because like I said, I submitted it September 8th, followed up in October, and then he emailed me, I believe November 1st, that they're working on them. So we're still waiting on approval. Any questions on that?
Well, what I would like to emphasize is, if we go back to 2018 all the way to 2021, you can see that we've been going into our general fund to replenish our INS. So that's important to note, because when I was talking to Ms. Mata and we were going through all the numbers, when you present a balanced budget, you should not be going into your general fund balance. And so we've been going into our general fund balance since 2018, as you can see here. And hopefully, we're going to get that reimbursement of 2.2 after all that work.
Hopefully. I know that I did mention to Ms. Servillon that for the 22-23 fiscal year, for this budget, there was 269,749 that were fund balance or to transfer in from general fund. So hopefully, with the 2.2 million, after the IFA amendments are approved, we won't have to transfer like I stated. Hopefully, we'll see. Okay.
Do you know what that, the 1 million in 2019 and 2020, do you know what that was used for?
They're always used for, that fund is only to make bond payments. So principal and interest on bond payments. And maybe very small, I think it's like $250 or $500 for like agent fees for like the bonds, and that's it, like but $250 or $500 for maybe 2 or 3 bonds that we have. That's about it, but always bond and interest.
So a question that I have, Ms. Mata, is, and to Ms. Cervellon's point, so in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, we've been dipping into the general fund, but yet and this is before my time on the board as well, what's presented at a given point in time to the community, to our constituents, is a balanced budget. But yet we're dipping into the general fund. Why? Why is that?
It depends on, and I'd have to go back and look at whatever was
The
presented.
specifics?
But normally, it's when you do your summary of finance template, you use projections based on the tax rate, the collection rate, the property values, and all that gives you what TA is going to give you in EDA and IFA. You project what you're going to collect in tax collections, and then that you work into what your tax rate should be for the INS. And then that's when you propose to the board, this is what we need, and so forth, to make sure that you don't go into fund balance from the general fund or have to transfer.
So basically, your summary of finance that you use is a template, and it's basically, am I incorrect to assume that it's basically a living document? It changes as,
Yeah,
right?
it changes,
continues?
yeah. It's like when I mentioned that I was looking at the ADA and for the program intents and so forth to see where we're gonna be at, how much funding we're gonna get. Then I mentioned the first and the second 6 weeks, like we keep track of it and try and see based on whatever was projected, are we there, are we under, are we over? And then look at how it's affecting our numbers, so.
Thank you.
When do you project for us not to be getting out of the fund balance?
Okay, so right now, and I was gonna go into it during the budget amendments, but I can mention it. Right now, like, I just got numbers for the first 6 weeks and the second 6 weeks. And remember last time, our last board meeting, I mentioned that we had 92 point something percent attendance, and it was like 8,000 something ADA. That was for the first 6 weeks. The second 6 weeks ended, and we're at 7,900 something, I think 79.49 or 79.69, and our attendance percentage went down to 90 point something. So that means that we're going down, which means when I thought we were gonna go up, because normally trend is that your second, third, fourth, and fifth 6 weeks are higher because you have your incoming migrants still coming in the first 6 weeks, then they leave early. If you have migrants that leave early and, you know, the end of the year and so forth, that you have more activities, so you have more absences and so forth, and then you have your trips and XYZ. So you tend to look at second, third, fourth, and fifth. At this point, like I said, we just ended the second 6 weeks. It's still early, but then the third 6 weeks, I believe I checked, and it ends December 16th, if I'm correct, something like that. So maybe using the second and third for like the January meeting, I can more or less use those 2 6 weeks and see what it looks like against our revenues that we have projected.
Please keep us posted on that, would appreciate it.
No, also important to note is that we made those calculations on 7,800 and what?
57, I
And
believe,
57. So we're above that threshold. And we already made preliminary calculations. I don't know if we can recall, before we adopted the budget, we said we would be 2.9 million, pulling that out of our general fund. That hasn't happened because we've really been working with staffing and we've really been working with the numbers. So we're trying to keep that number where, you know, low. And then looking at that increase in student population, or ADA, should hopefully keep us where we need to be. But if I can't 100% say at this point, I want to say it, but I can't 100% say it, that we wouldn't go into the general fund. But it looks that way.
Another note to make is that for our fall submission enrollment, last year it was 9211, this year it's 9280. So 69 students higher in enrollment. So,
Any other questions, board? Thank you, Ms. Mata.
okay, so the next one is the fund balance for our self-insured health insurance. During the 17-18, the fund balance was $4,008,925. In 18-19, it went down to 1.4 million. In 19-20, it went up to 2.9. And I did put a notation in 18-19 just because there was an increase in 19-20 due to a prior period adjustment of 4.4 million, which means that during the audit process, there was something that was either not recorded, either revenue or something, so they adjusted it in 19-20.
So it's, not to interrupt you, but in 2018-19, that we went negative there.
Yeah, and we
Right?
should not have gone negative.
So we went negative 1.4 million. That's what she's saying. And then go ahead with
Okay.
what transpired after that.
And then 2021, you see the fund balance went from 2.9 to 1.6 for a decrease of $1.3 million. And then for the unaudited, which is the past one that just ended, we are estimated to be at negative $677,543 due to a decrease of $2.3 million. And I believe that you have folders in front of y'all that were put on there. It's a manila folder, and it's just to show you where our claims were at. And mainly, we transferred over $9.4 million in revenues, and then we expensed $11.7 million, so a $2.3 million difference. But if you notice on the executive summary that you have, our claims in 2021 were $9.4 million, and in 21-22, for the same time period, it was 10.7. So you can see that our claims went up, and then our employer contribution stayed the same and has been the same for several years. So that's what that decrease is attributed to. And I know that I've spoken to Lucy, and she does keep track of, are the claims going down, and within the last month or so, they have been going down. So hopefully our claims start going down.
I know we also had a presentation from Blue Cross Blue Shield that indicated we had about 12 employees that had very critical illnesses.
High claims.
And so that is why that expenditure
Yes.
went up.
Okay. For the general fund, So the general fund for the 17-18, and you'll see a breakdown here different than the other ones, because the general fund is encompassed by the non-spendable, which is your inventories, like we have HVAC, we have paper, we have janitorial supplies, and we have maintenance supplies and food service that are all under the non-spendable because they're actual items that we have in stock. And then the restricted is your food service. We can't spend that any other way. It's reserved for food service. And so for 17-18, the total fund balance was 33 million, but if you see unassigned, that's actually what your general fund, that you can use that for anything that you would like, or that something arises, an emergency or something like that. That's what you really can use, the 29.8 million in 17-18. In 18-19, and I'm just gonna go over the unassigned. So in 18-19, the unassigned went from 29 million to 26 million. And then in 19-20, it went down from 26 million to 16 million, down by 10 million. And that's taking into consideration that we did use 5.6 million in ESSER, so. Oh, I'm sorry, I forget, okay. So we're at 2021, our fund balance increased to 41 million by 24,453,000. Had we not, and if you can, I put a notation, ESSER 20 million. Had we not had ESSER, we would have only increased by 4 million, something like that. So that's for 2021. And then the unaudited for 21-22 is that we will be increasing by 10,588,000. So we would go to an unassigned fund balance of 50,193,260. Okay, and again, using ESSER of 18 million. The reason that I mentioned ESSER is because for 23-24, if you remember the presentation from ESSER, our funding for ESSER is gonna go down to, like, I believe 6 million or something. I know we're having another presentation just to update you all on that, probably in December or January. But I think we're going down to like 6-7 million, give or take, for 23-24. So some of those expenditures, like the nursing department, right now, currently I checked, and under Fund 199, I only have $12,000 budgeted for it, under 199, but because it's completely being funded from ESSER. So all that, or half of that's gonna have to come back. So that's something that we're gonna start looking at, but that's just information for you all. If you have any other questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Mata.
Thank you.
So we move on to item 5.3. Now we have a presentation on budget amendments. Ms. Mata?
Okay, so what is a budget amendment? A budget amendment is a transfer of funds across different functions. For example, a budget amendment would result if instructional funds, function 11, were requested to be transferred to the library, function 12. Budget amendment line items should be stated in whole dollars and must be approved by the school board. And I just copied the last sentence from our policy C local. The board shall amend the budget when a change is made, increasing any one of the functional spending categories or increasing revenue object accounts and other resources. This is in reference to the budget amendments that are going to be presented today. So I'm just going to talk over 3 topics. College career and military readiness. In essence, it's a student achievement. It's based on college ready, career ready, and military ready. Those are the criteria that's stated there. And this slide further delineates what college ready means. And that's on AP and IB exams, and SAT and ACT and TSIA, and so forth. I'll give you a few minutes to read it if you like. And then this is a computation about how we get our funding and how they calculate what we get funded by. Okay, so this is our summary of finance, like I stated. This is from the latest one from TA has as of 11/10/2022. If you notice that our allotment is 846,000, and the LPE means legislative projected estimate. The DP is the district projected estimate. It's the same thing. On the bottom, showed you what they're saying, educationally disadvantaged graduates. And this information is from like the 22-23 would be 21-22 graduates. I have emailed Mr. Martinez to see if we're in track with this allotment amount or not, to see how many graduates we had last year. But like as I was saying, you have your educationally disadvantaged graduates, your non-educationally disadvantaged graduates, and then your special education graduates. Again, based on during the 22-23 board meeting on June 21st, there was 144,000 that was used as the projection. We are required, as you can see on top, where it says 29, that we spend 55% of that amount. So 55% of the 844,464,200. In our expenses, when I ran it, we had 404,475. In order to be compliant, we have to budget 59,725 for it. So that's why the budget amendment's coming, so we can at least be compliant with it for 55%. I will be looking at it further, because I know I've received 2 emails from, I believe, Mr. Salinas and Ms. Rangel, in reference that they need more than just 60,000. So I will be looking at it again. Okay? Any questions on CCMR? Okay. On the maintenance, there had been an email during the budget process from Mr. Perez to Mrs. Perez requesting that they increase their overtime funding from 122,000 to 323 to 144,000, and that they use the overtime for emergencies like plumbing, electrical, carpentry, fumigating, locksmith, custodial support, and district events, and also biweekly disinfecting of the campuses. I went back and I tracked it, and for the 6121 account, I did the 1718 all the way to 2223 or 2122 expenditures, and you notice it's an average of anywhere from ranging from 29. Of course, those are the COVID years. If you notice, the 1920 and 2021, which are slightly lower, are the COVID years. So I really didn't take into consideration those. So I just used 1718 and 2122. So currently they have a $10,200 budget. If I add 70,000, that'll increase it to 80,200. But then if I add the benefits for it, it's a $75,000 budget amendment that I'm requesting. And then again, we'll keep an eye on this as well. Any questions?
So that $10,200 that are budgeted it is actually the dollar amount that's budgeted for overtime?
For the
So
function?
that's why you're requesting that
Yes.
budget amendment of 70,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry?
You're requesting 75,000, right?
70,000 for the
70,000.
base, and then the rest of the benefits, Medicare, workers'
Okay.
comp, and so forth.
Okay.
Do you know why only 10,000 was budgeted originally?
No, my understanding is, and it's not this only, the last slide I'll explain a little bit more, but a lot of the budgets for the departments and campuses were cut. So, I don't know why.
Was there any explanation as to why they were cut?
To my understanding, to balance the budget.
To balance the budget?
Yeah, my understanding, that's what I was told.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
But the important thing is, the budget wasn't balanced. It was 2.9 million in deficit, but that has not been our deficit at all. You know, so we've reduced that deficit significantly. And so now, at this point, as we're combing through the budget, we're seeing where we need to place money. Currently, it is coming from our general fund. However, we're looking at our ADA. So if we look at ADA, we're hoping, again, we're making estimates where we would get 1 million to 1.2 million more. So if that works out, then we have better numbers.
If I recall correctly, we were lowballing the budget when we balanced it.
Well, I guess so what we did was, we, went low on our revenues, and then on our expenditures, we went up higher, but where it was a 2.9 million. I guess what I would say is the thing that helped the most was going through the staffing formula and seeing how the staff laid out at every campus and across every department.
And then our enrollment also
Our
helped.
enrollment went up some.
Dr. Cruz, did they tell you why we were lowballing those numbers? Was there a reason?
Because our enrollment was gonna be projected to be 7,800, something like that? Our ADA was,
You are referring to when we were working on our budget and it was presented to us, and we were using those estimates. And so it was us that lowballed to be able to try to balance the budget. And we were looking at our current figures as far as enrollment and what our projections were. And so those are all figures that were presented to us so that we could try to balance the budget. That was presented to us a few months back. Does that clarify a little bit?
Okay, the next slide is for the gasoline and other fuels. There was no funds budgeted in this area of 6311. You notice on the 17-18 to 21-22 averages about 40,000. So the budget amendment that I am requesting is 40,000. So the new total would be 0 plus 40,000 is 40,000. So that's a clear cut one, and that one had no funds available. So then the last slide, like I mentioned, was that these are some of the areas that I'm going to be looking at. Like I mentioned, I have emails of different departments needing more funding. PIC 22, which is our CAPE department, is actually working now diligently on giving me an estimate of these are all the trips that they have, this is all the competitions and so forth, so I can have a better estimate for y'all. And then special ed, I've met with all these individuals actually on several occasions, so they're working to see where they need money as well, and that way I can better explain to y'all what is needed and why. And of course, the college and career readiness, like I mentioned, I will be looking at that again. Like I have 2 emails based on that. And then of course, like Mrs. Avion mentioned, the salaries is something else that we're looking at. Any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We move on to item 5.4, academic health report. Mr. Rayon?
Yes, so this evening we have Dr. McGee that will be presenting our academic health report. She is going to walk us through some of the potential changes to our assessment system as far as STAR goes, and also give us some information connected to the survey, our climate survey related to academics that our teachers, counselors, librarians, assistant principal, teacher assistants were able to respond to in order to ensure that we are servicing our staff and giving them the support that they need. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Dr. McGee.
Good evening, Board President Moreno, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Surveillon. First, this evening, we're going to discuss the A through F accountability review. And I'd like to invite up Mrs. Amy Rodriguez, our Director of Secondary Instructional Implementation, to go through this information.
Hi, good evening, Board President Moreno, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Torreon. So we are going to be discussing the accountability. This year, as we know, we are changing, or the state is changing our assessment from STAR to STAR 2.0. Going along with that, they are also changing how we are going to be rated, right? Changes to our accountability have been proposed, and they are updated regularly. It is not complete. It will be continue to be updated through the spring of 2023. But every time we have an update or a change or proposal, we want to make sure that everyone is aware of the changes so we can make adjustments to instruction, adjustments to assessment, and adjustments to our monitoring system as well here in the district. One of the most significant proposed changes that the state is requesting is the way that districts are being rated with the overall proportionality. And so what TEA is proposing is that we calculate the district domain overall rating using the enrollment counts for each grade level from third grade to 12th grade, and using that as a weighted proportion to include into our district, applied to every single domain. So what they would be doing is at the district level, we determine the enrollment for each campus. After that, we would divide the number of students enrolled at 3 to 12 at each campus and divide that by the total district enrollment. The resulting percentage is the weight that each campus would carry and would contribute to the district overall domain score. And then, of course, we multiply the campus domain scale score by its weight to determine the points for every single domain, and then sum up, right? So it's a lot of math. So the next chart is actually something we've been working with Region 1 to ensure to look at the potential impact that the district would have, right? So if you look, for example, at our elementary campus, the first one, Angela Leal, they have an enrollment of 189 students. If you look at the very bottom, our total district enrollment, and I'm sorry, this was for last year, right? So this was for the 2022 enrollment counts and let's say 2022 domain scores as well.
And third through fifth.
Third through 12th, right?
But third through fifth for-
Third through fifth for elementary, 6th through 8th for middle school, and 9th through 12th for high school, right? So if you look at the elementary, if you look at Angela Leal, they had 189 students, which was 3% of the total, okay, district enrollment. Their domain 1 score was a 60, so they contributed 1.6 in this new accountability system. They would contribute 1.6 points to domain 1 of the whole district, right? Their domain 2A score was a 91. 3% of that is 2.5, so they would contribute 2.5 points. Their domain 2B was a 69, times 3% would be 1.9 points for the total district, and then the domain 3 was 75, so they contribute 2 points to the total district. So if you look at our campuses, we had several A campuses in the district, specifically at elementary, but they're only accounting for anywhere between 2 to 4% of the total percentage for the district, right? If you look at middle school, for instance, Berta Cavazza Middle School has had an enrollment of 813, which is 12% of the district. And so 12% is carried over through each domain for a total of 8.6 in domain 1, 10.1 in domain 2A, 9.8 in domain 2B, and 9.2 in domain 3. Okay? If you look down to the high school level, you notice that San Benito High School carries the most weight. With an enrollment count of 2,054 students, they carry 30% of the weight for the district. Okay? When you sum it all up at the bottom, the overall district, we'd be looking at a 72 for domain 1, a 74.5 for domain 2A, a 78.8 for domain 2B, and a 73.8 for domain 3. Okay. So what does that mean? Our potential impact for the district using this new accountability system means that we would go from a B district to a C district. So they would still take the highest domain score from domains 1, 2A, or 2B, which would be at 79%, and then carry over times 70, and then domain 3 would be just 74 times 30% for an overall rating of a 77, which is a C. Yes.
Which is based on the totals, our current scores for this school year, where we
Yes.
were a B.
Right, so if we change nothing based on our scores from the 2022, this is where we would be. Yes, we would be at a C. As we get more changes in accountability, we will be updating you so you are aware. We are updating the campuses on a regular basis as well so that we make those adjustments needed at the campus level as well.
Can you forward this to us?
Yes,
Appreciate it,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what's important, and the reason we want to keep everybody in the know, especially the board as well, so that we can understand that the same thing that we're doing is not going to work. Because progress was weighed so heavily last time, we were able to get that beat. And if you look at Region 1, I think there were, what was it? Everybody was an A and a B except for 2 districts.
Yes.
So there were only 2 C districts. So again, this is changing, the accountability is changing, but most importantly, the teaching has to change. The learning has to change. This is about true, deep, concept-based instruction, where you're not teaching towards a test, where you are actually teaching kids to read and the skills that they need to do well wherever they go. And we already know this. Kids that do have that skill set do well on TSI, on PSAT, on SAT, on ACT, right? Because they have that concept, deep concept already ingrained. So that is how we're shifting, and that is a big lift, just so that we understand that. Yes. But that is a challenge.
So I appreciate that, Ms. Cervellon, and like you say, just to your point, we continue doing the same thing, we're not gonna get anywhere, so things do need to change. So, good.
Thank you.
We will transition to the Fall 2022 San Benito CISD Campus Climate Survey. The purpose of this survey, we wanted to capture insights from our campuses in 6 specific areas: our safety and security, which has been an important focus for this school year, school climate and culture, professional learning, not only for our teachers, but there are other stakeholders within our campuses who have various professional learning needs, so we wanted to capture that as well. So that's our campus personnel. Teacher specific, based partially on our instructional playbook, we looked at professional learning communities, also our learning environments and instructional resources. The climate survey, we had 651 respondents during our open survey window, which was November 1st through the 11th of 2022. In terms of respondents, included the range from teachers, paraprofessionals, librarians, counselors, our RTI teachers, deans of instruction, and assistant principals. We also included a general section so that other personnel, such as secretaries, clerks, could also participate and contribute. So first, let's look at safety and security. I know the graphs are kind of small, so I provided a summary at the end. Over 80% of our respondents agree or strongly agree that they feel safe in schools, and that's a testament to our safety team, our executive director of operations, Mr. Saldana, Mr. Flores, our safety coordinator, everyone who is involved, our officers each and every day, Chief Sosa, for making sure that our schools are safe, and that's reflected in our results.
Dr. McGee, if I want to stop you real
Yes.
quick. Can we go back to the previous slide real quick? So this campus climate survey was provided to all, district-wide?
It is but provided district-wide, yes.
Okay, so, and this is to all our, like you mentioned here, teachers, paras, librarians, all those different people.
Yes.
So did you all, out of the 651 respondents, when you compare that to the number of employees, do we have a percentage as to what the participation rate was for this overall survey?
I can get the participation rate for you, and provide it to Ms. Servion.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, to me, it's low.
It's not a low number.
No?
I would say it's a good sample because you're talking about just instructional staff. That's very different. So you're looking at instructional staff, you're not talking about principals, you're not talking about directors, you're not talking about maintenance, you're not talking about child nutrition. So there's a lot of staff that this survey does not connect to. Other personnel on campus, such as secretaries and clerks. It did not include custodial, it did not include cafeteria, it just included people that are connected to some level of instruction.
Yes, the reason we included general in the survey results, because some of our, when it went out, let's say a secretary had the link and wanted to provide input. If we didn't have a general section there, that person wouldn't be able to provide input. So we did want the input, even though that wasn't the specific focus of the survey. We did want their input if necessary.
Thank you.
Yes. So as you see here, in terms of safety and security, if I can return back. They also felt that the schools were in good and clean condition. And if you've been to our schools, and I travel to schools each week, the floors are like shining. And I always reach out to a custodian. It's wow. Like I haven't been to a school yet that just isn't bright, shiny, clean. It's just totally amazing and commendable. And also that they have knowledge of school safety procedures. And I know that the team has been diligent in ensuring that we're notified. With culture and climate, we asked a couple of questions, a couple of statements where we looked at, and this is a Likert type scale. So it went from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And so they responded to prompts such as, I look forward to coming to work each day. Campus administrators clearly communicate important information and expectations. Campus administrators set a positive tone for our school culture and receiving regular feedback from campus administrators. And here, if you see the summary, between 69 and 72% of respondents agree or strongly agree that they look forward to coming to work, that campus administrators communicate clearly and set a positive tone, and respondents also indicated that they receive regular feedback. And I think this is indicated if you do visit our social media pages in terms of our campus administrators putting on events and other items trying to encourage that positive campus culture is evidence of what they're doing at the campus level. Next, professional development. Here, you will see that between 58% and 63% of respondents agree or strongly agree that there are sufficient opportunities for professional growth at their campuses. And keep in mind, this is not just our teachers, but our other personnel as well. And this was a good information point for us for our other staff other than our teachers. As you see, it's also, when you look at having opportunities to choose professional learning, to meet their needs. And so if you look, we also asked what was their preferred time to attend professional development sessions. And so you'll see job embedded. So keep in mind that this isn't just teachers who have PLCs in which they could get job embedded professional development, but this includes other campus personnel as well. And then the preferred length of time, the majority of which were half-day sessions, and then you'll see second were mini sessions, and we think we attribute this to if you go to a conference, those sessions last like 50 minutes and they're in and out. The full day is rough right now on our teams, and that's indicated here. As you also see indicated, those after-school and Saturday sessions aren't the highest on the totem pole there. Next up were areas of opportunity for our staff. And so I wanted to include, because the large majority of the respondents were teachers, you will see things such as differentiation, technology integration, but you'll see specific contact areas. For specific job related, that was from more of our respondents of other personnel. So for example, a secretary, one of the things that was mentioned was Excel training and understanding how to do Excel. And so there was a response to that, informative assessment. In terms of honorable mention, you'll see here special education, general educators wanting to learn more about special education. A learning piece for us, our fine arts teachers needing more attention from us. Our paraprofessionals needing more attention from us when it comes to professional development. Our counselors wanting more assistance with mental health challenges, some of which resulting from COVID, behavior challenges. There are new regulations in place in terms of the percentage that they're supposed to be doing counselor-related duties. And also our redesign, STAR 2.0. So now we're going to get into the teacher portion of our specific teacher portion, starting with our professional learning communities. As you will note here, the majority of respondents agree or strongly agree on what occurs during PLC meetings, curriculum alignment, formative assessment, and instructional coaching as focal points of the professional learning communities. However, fewer than 50% of respondents indicated that they have time to collaborate with their colleagues. Again, a teaching moment for us on the academic services team. Next, we look at our learning environment, and these teachers, overwhelming 97%, say that students are aware of classroom expectations, academic and behavior. And just over 84% have indicated that they use formative assessment to monitor student progress. And remember, this is a part of our instructional playbook. And they also agree, 80%, a testament to Mr. English the Director of Technology, Mrs. Pena, as well, and our whole technology teams, that they have adequate access to technology. One of the things that was a recurring thing is time and having adequate time, and teachers being stretched for time. So that was indicated in our results. Next are resources. And as you see here, 71% of teachers agree or strongly agree that they have access to curriculum resources and that they are available, and 80% agree or strongly agree that these resources are aligned to state standards. However, one of the systems that were implemented in the district this year, the TFAR, Texas Formative Assessment Resource, fewer than 50% have been able to use TFAR or a similar type of assessment to measure student performance. And this was, although TFAR was introduced by the state last year, this is our first year of implementation. And so right now we're in the implementation phase, so those numbers are kind of aligned to where we are. Again, as a teaching moment, do we stick with TFAR or do we utilize other assessment resources to help our teachers? So now we look at the past. These are our preliminary action steps for success based on this climate survey. We wanted to do things that were immediate to let our teachers know and our other campus professionals and personnel know that we were listening. So we did, elementary campuses will return or have returned to the 7:30 a.m. reporting time. And this applies for teachers, librarians, and counselors. There was a 7:15 reporting time that was implemented during the height of the pandemic, and it was not adjusted. Elementary and secondary campuses will implement half-day planning sessions for groups of teachers by grade or subject level, and our guest teachers will provide coverage during that planning time. In terms of alternative assessments, when it comes to TFAR, we have and are using interim assessments, TTAP, which is our Texas 3-year assessment pilot, and Eduphoria. Directors who attended the Texas Assessment Conference will meet with principals and other instructional staff to review STAR updates. And then we're going to fold in our paraprofessionals who work on campuses using Amplify. They will receive training, and our awesome Director of Professional Learning is Ms. Ramirez is developing other sessions for paraprofessionals. She is also working to develop opportunities for our fine arts teachers to convene so they can connect with each other and also receive relevant professional learning. Obviously, these are in many ways preliminary, so we're still working through solutions. And then we are developing additional climate surveys for families and other SBC ISD stakeholders so that we can continue to work and improve the district. What questions may we answer?
I have a comment. I believe, thank you for updating us in this, because this is very important to us, but at the end of the day, it's about customer service. I mean, we need to acquire better customer service. Even when the phone rings, you know, Samuel School District may help you. Be courteous to the person that you're talking to. So I think we need to have like a training, customer service with all the staff, so we can improve our customer service. That's my opinion, but. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perhaps, yeah, district-wide.
Thank you, Dr. McGee, for this presentation. It was really helpful, and those steps that you're taking preliminary, I mean, they sound great. I know I've heard of people that have been on the campuses, and they're like, oh, it's really good that the district is having these half-day professional development meetings and utilizing the guest teachers. That way they have that time for planning. I know that's something that teacher friends are always asking for and wanting more of, and it's really good that they're being embedded into the day.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to consent agenda under academic services. Item 6.1, request approval of the proposed schools of choice for the 2023-2024 school year.
Question.
Okay. Item 6.2, request approval of the campus improvement plans for the 2022-2023 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 6.3, request approval of the targeted improvement plans for the 2023 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 6.4, request approval of the clinical education affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat Specialists. Questions? Consent. Item 6.5, request approval of the clinical education affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and Dr. Cotta, MD. Questions? Consent. Item 6.6, request approval of the clinical education affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and Topangan Pediatrics. Questions? Consent. Moving on to consent agenda for finance. Item 7.1, request approval to accept gifts and bequests for the 22-23 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 7.2, request approval of budget amendments for the 22-23 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 7.3, request approval of cash account report. Questions? Consent. Item 7.4, request approval of comparison of revenue and expenditures to budget. Questions? Consent. Item 7.5, request approval of check disbursements for October 2022. Questions? Consent. Item 7.6, request approval of PNC schedule of authorized signers for San Benito CISD. Questions? Consent. Item 7.7, request approval of proposals on RFP, meals and catering services district-wide. Questions? Consent. Item 7.8, request approval of proposals for RFP 1022, general merchandise and services. Questions? Consent. Item 7.9, request approval of proposals for FP 1022, professional consultant services. Questions? Consent. Item 7.10, request approval of bid proposals for RFP 1022, purchase of vehicle delivery truck district-wide. Questions? Consent. Item 7.11, request approval to extend the RFQ 1021, HVAC, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, engineering services for 1 additional year. Questions? Consent. Under administration, item 8.1, request approval of San Benito CISD and the Texas Department of Public Safety driver record agreement for the 2022-2023 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 8.2, request approval of agreement between San Benito CISD and Grand Canyon University for the 2022-2023 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 8.3, request approval of revisions to the 2022-2023 compensation plan. Questions? Consent. Item 8.4, request approval of board minutes. Questions? Consent. Okay, so at this time, I would like a motion to approve items 6.2 through 6.6, 7.1 through 7.11, 8.1 through 8.4 on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Janie Lopez. Do I have a second? We have a second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we come back to item 6.1, request approval of the proposed schools of choice for the 2023-2024 school year. Dr. Cruz.
Hi, Dr. McGee. I apologize for missing the committee meetings on these two presentations. I did watch them via video, and I sent you an email with several questions earlier today, and I apologize for the late notice. But one of the things that really stood out to me, and it was touched on in public comment earlier, is the exclusivity of the middle school program. And I don't know if I maybe missed it in the meeting, but this is an application process, correct? Is there any way that we could think about maybe moving it to a recommendation process where the elementary schools would be in charge of recommending a number of students to apply. Like, they would take care of the application rather than it being put on the parents, because sometimes, unfortunately, our students don't have the means or the support to go out for something like this on their own.
Please, Dr. McGee. We prepared some additional information for discussion. And it is exclusive. There is an eliteness to it, and there's a rationale for it. If you look at the data, we have lost a lot of our kids to charters and to South Texas ISD, and it is those kids that they are catering to. So at this point, we want to make sure that we challenge those students and up our game. I think an application process is appropriate. If there are students that are referred by teachers because they might not have someone at home to assist them, we'll be more than happy to assist them as well. But it is exclusive, and it is going to be something that is going to require a big commitment from the family and from the student. So with that being said, it is a college preparatory program. And so when our kids leave our district, what we see a lot of times, including some of our top graduates, is that they have difficulty adjusting to college life, and the academic preparedness is not there. So we want to ascertain that our kids have that academic preparedness and can go into any university they choose to go to. And so with that being said, Dr. McGee, do you want to go ahead and take it away, since we talked a lot about this throughout the weeks?
Yes, thank you for your question, Dr. Cruz. Also, thank you for welcoming back Board President Moreno, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Servillon. So for 8 years, I worked at in a district where you couldn't even apply unless you were at a 40th percentile, and some of the schools at a 65th or 80th percentile for norm reference tests. Here, we don't have that. We designed a matrix that says anybody can apply. So we built the equity in mind, and then we will, based on those applications, we will select from that. So it will be tiered. Another question, concern that was brought up is would we have to go through a lottery? If we have a large number of applications and there are a bunch of ties, then what would we do if we no longer have the capacity? At that point, it's standard practice to do a lottery in that case. We hope we can welcome all students that want the opportunity, but if that does arise, it is a case. So we did think about those kind of, do we want to not even let a kid have an opportunity because maybe they didn't score well on a norm reference test, or do we say, come all, and we'll see how it shapes out.
Dr. McGee, I have a
Yes.
question. So besides a lottery, would another venue that we could use, and I just thought of it right now, that's why I'm proposing it now, if not, I would have told you about it earlier. I'm not trying to spring something out of the blue. But the interview.
Yes.
The interview will have a weight. So the student will be interviewed, and then there will be a parent interview as well. So with that interview, that is something that may be able to be that differentiator between some sort of a tie.
Yes, the interview process in previous iterations of schools I've been on launch teams has helped with that.
Yeah, that was something that I had mentioned in my email, just having more of like a ranked choice, like an actual college application process, personal statement, letters of recommendation from teachers, and even a waiting list. I mean, you're waitlisted when you apply to colleges sometimes, so this is a college preparatory. And then also included in my email was, I think something that sets public schools apart from charter schools is the diversity and being able to participate in certain extracurricular activities. And I know that there are, I think when I was at Pan Am, students coming from the McAllen IB campus, they were able to go back to their home campuses for like football and things like that. Is that something that we've looked at for
Yes.
for this campus?
May I
Go ahead.
approach?
Yes, go ahead, Dr. McGee. We did talk about all of that, and we did work all of that out because we wanted to make sure our students didn't miss any opportunity. Plus, we wanted to expand on that extracurricular opportunity for this academy as well.
I can speak about both proposed academies, but I'll start with the Collegiate Academy. First of all, will be for our core classes, they will be all honors courses. The curriculum and things that we've choices in terms of resources are research-based for elevated curriculum. As you see here, we would like to use Springboard for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math. In 6th grade, we would cover all of the 6th grade TEKS and half of the 7th grade TEKS. In 7th grade, we would cover half of 7th and all of 8th, and then they would be ready in 8th grade for Algebra 1. For our ELOR courses, this curriculum would be elevated through book studies. So actual whole novels or other source materials as opposed to book passages and excerpts. Studies show that when kids read, everything elevates. And so we want to be very intentional about our reading. In science, STEM Scopes is a gold standard when it comes to science instruction. For our social studies, we will have our world cultures, our Texas history, our U.S. history for 8th grade. However, one of our focus when you think about a college-going culture is AP, advanced placement. In order to prepare our students for advanced placement, we need to prepare them to answer appropriately. FRQs, which are free response questions, and DBQs, which are document-based questions. So the focus from 6th grade through 8th grade will be to teach our kids those methodologies so they'll be ready for AP exams. I'm going to skip past explorations just so I can continue with the core curriculum. As you see, foreign language. In 7th grade, they will start with Spanish 1 for fine arts. You could have fine arts or band for 6th and 7th, and in 8th grade, you could take art 1, physical education. As you see here, they could participate in athletics at their zone campus, but for 8th grade, we also would like to have a PA explorations course. For some of the sports, you may not, may not be as popular. For example, fencing, lacrosse, golf, even though it's popular here, we even have a golf tournament. Yet many of our kids at the middle school are not exposed to golf. And then the outdoors. Such as hiking. I know Ms. Maney has our archery club. That would be interesting. And so to have those in intervals where we have an explorations course. We have our CTE in technology, from text apps to explorations in our required college and career readiness course. In terms of norm reference testing, how do we make sure our kids are prepared for SAT and ACT? So we do have MAP testing, which does have that direct correlation from kindergarten through 12th grade. However, there are programs available. We used to have Duke Tip. It does no longer exist. However, there are programs available for students now to take the SAT, but they have to score in a 90th percentile or above on MAP. So we will have that option available. And then starting in 8th grade, to help prepare them for SAT, we will have PSAT 8. That collegiate way, all of our students will have the opportunity to participate in National Junior Honor Society. We also want to start our college tours in middle school. Why wait until high school? Not only local colleges, valley colleges, but extending state and even national if possible. And then our kids should participate in athletic competitions as well. So that math mind, they have one competition, they have a mathletes, so academic as well. And so they will be required to participate in athletic competitions. Academic, sorry, thank you. Such as the academic pentathlon. You may have heard of the academic decathlon for high school. This is the middle school component. Destination Imagination, which brings out the creative side. It's just an amazing program. And then it will be specific for each grade level. I want to take you back up to our exploration, also 9-week block courses that are proposed. These would be on several pathways that students could choose to help prepare them, whether it be computer science, health science, environmental science, or a leadership component to connect what we're doing in the elementary schools to what we're doing in the high schools and throughout. So connecting elementary, middle, and high going into our CTE courses. And so they will be able to explore these areas with deep project-based learning, continuing our theme throughout. And we will be on an AB schedule proposed for our core classes since they are elevated. Those will be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And our elective courses would be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Any questions about the proposed Collegiate Academy programming? If you wouldn't mind turning your attention to the back of the page, this is a focus on the proposed Global Leadership Academy programming. When you look at our community and leadership education for a Global Leadership Academy, you think about leadership. Start, what are the qualities of a leader? And focusing for the students who are entering. Then so many times we forget about local leadership and how vital it is. What do they say? All politics is local. And so our kiddos need to be grounded in what it means to be a local leader and the impact you can make even with one person on a corner or in a store or wherever you're leading. Next, state leadership. Again, we have our beautiful capital there in Austin. We want our kids to go. But one of the things that's always interesting to me, and we've implemented in several districts, are local hidden histories. You know, what about our local community? And what I mean by hidden is that we have facilities here. I go past this old Bertha Cabasa. I want to know the history, and every time I pass by, I'm like, this architecture is beautiful. And to have our kids go out in their community and learn the history of their communities, that's powerful. And so implementing that at one of our schools is just the possibility is amazing. Then as you see, as our kids progress through the program, they have national leadership. And what does that look like? Wouldn't it be nice for our kids in May 4th grade to go to the US, to Washington, D.C., and learn what it's about? And then finally in 5th grade, our global connections. It is a global leadership academy, and what does it mean to be a leader in the 21st century? And that means global connections. So we have paid attention to that in our proposed Global Leadership Academy programming. In addition, as you see, I do want to give attention, pretty much the other items are very similar, but I do want to give a particular focus on math and why it was selected this way. These focuses for each grade level are what we see are issues as students are in middle school and high school. They die on the vine, a popular term, Mr. Servion, in 9th grade in algebra. And these are the reasons. First of all, number sense focus. They need that at their earliest levels. What is number sense? Operations. We have kids in high school who can't multiply or divide. It's not a wrong or right, it's just where we are and why we need that focus. In 3rd and 4th grade, looking at patterns, because patterns lead into the foundations of algebra. And so that's why there's a focus at each level at the Global Leadership Academy for that proposed programming. Any questions here?
And any further questions? Thank you, Dr. McGee.
You're welcome.
So with the conclusion of that presentation, do I have a motion to approve the proposed schools of choice for the 2023-2024 school year as presented?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Janie Lopez and a second by Oscar Medrano. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to action agenda items. Item 9.1. Discussion, consideration, and possible approval regarding purchases over $25,000. Ms. Cervellon?
Yes, I recommend the board approve purchases over $25,000 as presented.
Board members, any questions? Do I have a motion to approve purchases over $25,000 as presented?
So move.
We have a motion by Oscar Medrano. Do I have a second? Second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item 9.2, discussion, consideration, and possible approval regarding purchases over $25,000 with Gulf Coast Paper Company. Ms. Cervellon?
Yes, I also recommend that we approve purchases over $25,000 with Gulf Coast Paper Company as presented.
Are there any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve purchases over $25,000 with Gulf Coast Paper Company?
So move.
Okay, we have a motion by Oscar Medrano. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jenny Lopez. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 abstention. So motion carries 4 and 1 abstention. Okay, item 9.3, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of tax collection. Ms. Cervellon.
Yes, I recommend the board approve the tax collection as presented.
Board members, are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the tax collection as presented? Okay, we have a motion by Mario Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jenny Lopez. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Items 9.4, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of staff incentive, and item 9.5, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Jana K. Landrum project and contractual matters. I'd like to move into closed session to discuss that before we come back into open. So do I have a motion to move those into executive?
So move.
Okay, we have a motion by Oscar Medrano, second. Second by Mario Silva. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 5-0. So with that said, we go into closed meeting. In accordance with Texas Government Code Open Meetings Act, the board may move into closed session for the following reasons. Section 551.071, for the purpose of a private consultation with the board's attorney on any or all subjects or matters authorized by law. Section 551.074, for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. And Section 551.082, certain school board deliberations. The time is 7:12. We move into executive session. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is 8:34, and we reconvene into open session to discuss matters discussed in executive. So I start off with item 9.4, discussion, consideration, and possible approval on staff incentive. So with that said, I would like to make a motion for the district to prepare and adopt a board resolution providing a retention stipend to district employees on the terms discussed in closed session, including a retention stipend of $500 for full-time employees and $300 for part-time employees, and authorizing the board president to execute that resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Question, can we just add a date when that will be? Or paid out?
To be paid out in December, correct, Mr. Weller?
Yes.
Okay, so we can add that, so to the end of my motion, that once we have that, we execute that resolution, the stipend will be paid out in the December payroll. Okay, so I have a motion by myself and a second by Oscar Medrano. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item 9.5, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Jana K. Landrum project and contractual matters related thereto. Ms. Cervellon?
Yes, I recommend that the board accept the terms discussed in executive session related to the the Landrum project.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Janie Lopez. All those in favor to approve the Jana K. Landrum project and contractual matters as discussed in closed session? Motion carries 5-0. And then finally, employment resignations, retirements, and terminations. Ms. Cervellon, does that need?
No.
Nothing to be approved there? They were just presented to us? So with that said, then, do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. We have a motion by Oscar Medrano, second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Meeting is adjourned at 8:37 p.m. Thank you, everyone, that are still here, and have a good night.